Welcome to Tech and Potatoes, where we discuss the essential parts of tech that you deal with every day. Today's show, we're going to talk about the Galaxy S7 and cell phones in general. So stay tuned, coming right up. So we're talking about the Galaxy S7. We have someone who actually had the phone. I didn't purchase the phone. I was thinking about getting it. But my buddy Sam here did actually purchase it. But he doesn't have it now. Why is that? Sam, go ahead and tell us. Why don't you have a Galaxy S7? But you did purchase one.
Well, first of all, I must say I really enjoyed the Galaxy S7. And there was different circumstances that made me not purchase it, or take it back, rather. The price, for one thing, even though I think it's well worth it.
It is quite pricey.
And I have a little remorse about returning it. And I still have an option to get it again if I want, but we'll talk about that more a little later.
Well, you could always get it back. It'll only go down in price. It won't increase. It's not anything valuable. So, that is something to consider. But in your time with the phone, what were your thoughts? Did you not like the TouchWiz? What was the issues that you ran into? And what did you had you had the AT&T variant, is that correct?
Yes, I had the AT&T variant, and I must say I had no problems with the phone that I can see. I enjoyed the phone. The screen is amazing. The TouchWiz was not a problem. I didn't notice any lag or any issues with it. What it really came down was cost, and if it was worth me buying a phone that cost that much at the time.
Understandable. I mean, these are tough economic times. You gotta get the best value. What was the exact price that you paid for that phone? I know that all the carriers were all within a certain range. Wasn't it about $800 or so?
No, I got the non-edge version, so it was about $700, $694.99 to be exact, on AT&T. I know T-Mobile variants like $679, and Verizon's about $680, so they're all around about the same price.
Oh, and T-Mobile has that deal where you buy one and get one free. Not bad at all.
Well, also AT&T also has the deal if you buy one get one free. They actually use it as a credit instead of you getting the phone free. So basically you have to sign up for a 30-month next installment plan, and they slowly credit you the money back every month to cover that 30 months of your installment plan.
Oh, okay. Sounds like a fairly decent deal, but
well, what they're doing is keeping you. It's like a contract without having a contract.
So instead of,
you're stuck with them unless you decide to pay off the phone early. But if you have a credit, who's going to pay off the phone early? They're going to just stay there and use it and get their credit until the end.
So you're tied to a phone instead of a physical contract, I guess you could say.
Yes, and I think that's what all the carriers are doing with their Next, Edge, Samsung Forever program for T-Mobile. They're a contract without a contract. Yes, you don't have to stay with them, but if you want the phone, you want the upgrades, you're going to stay with them because you don't want to put out all that money up front to pay $600 or $700 or $800 for the iPhone, maybe $900 to pay off a phone.
Yeah, I mean, we have become a society where we like the monthly payment. We don't care about the bottom line, how much something costs. We just want to look at it as how much do I have to pay up front and how much do I have to pay each month. So it really looks like a good deal at first, but I'm not so sure about it. Thanks for taking the time out to check out our podcast. We really appreciate your listenership. Now we're going to go into the second half where we find out what phone Sam finally decides on. Stay tuned. Here we go. Well, okay, we've talked a lot about the Galaxy S7 a little bit, but you don't have that phone anymore. Can you tell me why don't you have that phone? And what happened? What's the deal? Why is there no longer a Galaxy S7 in your pocket and there's a little bit larger phone? So what happened, Sam?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, it came down to price. And at the price of $600, I wasn't sure that the Galaxy S7 was worth it for my budget. I still think it's a great phone. I actually like the size. I like the way it feels. The design is great. I mean, it really feels like a premium phone. And the added waterproofing is an excellent feature to have as well. And the camera is amazing.
It is amazing.
So,
yeah.
I mean, at this point, I decided to try and go with a Nexus 6 phone to see. I got it for like $424 on sale at Best Buy. I think Amazon also has it for $424. And I just felt I would like to try it out and see if it's a better phone for me, especially at the budget price it is, and see how well it does.
So that's the Nexus 6P, not the Nexus 6. Nexus 6P, yes, for everyone out there. Nexus 6, if you paid $400, that would be a problem. So tell us some more about it. What are your feelings on the Nexus 6P? How do you feel about that as opposed when you compare and contrast that between the Galaxy S7, the pluses and minuses between the two different phones?
Well, when you compare the two, the design is very good on both phones. The Nexus 6P has a very nice design. It has a very good build quality as well as the S7. The biggest difference, I think, is size, because they really do have the same screen almost. They both use a Samsung AMOLED panel, so you're going to get almost close to the same screen quality on both phones. But the Nexus 6P is bigger, so the PPI is going to not be as well. But you still get the same quality images overall from both phones. But the size, the Nexus 6P is 5.7 inches screen, and the way they designed the body, it just feels like a big phone. And I'm trying to see if I can get used to that aspect of that phone.
Yeah, that is a problem. I suffer from that too. I recently got a 5X, which we'll talk about in a later segment with Project Fi. I got it on that deal where you sign up for 1 month of Project Fi and you get the 5X at a discounted rate. But that's the problem I have with these carriers, and I do like what Samsung does. They give you the two different size phones with the same processor. What you find is these smaller phones in the 5 to 5.2 inch range, they have a middle of the road processor. And why can't I get a 5-inch phone that has a fully fledged flagship processor? And I like the fact that Samsung does that. And you're penalized for not wanting an oversized juggernaut phone. And I've got huge hands, and I still do not want an oversized phone. Nothing over 5.2 inches for me. But I will probably, when I go to get a Nexus again, if they offer a big phone with the big processor, I'll be suckered into it. But I do like the smaller size like you talked about.
But also, I think Samsung as well, they do a good job with their bigger phones as well. Because the Samsung, the S7 Edge is 5.5 inches, but when you pick it up, it truly doesn't feel like it's that big, especially when you compare it to the iPhone.
I have an iPhone 6 Plus, yes, and you are right. It is a brick in comparison. The S7 Edge, it's a very nice 5.5 as opposed to the 6 Plus.
Yeah, and they really minimize the bezels on their phones, so there's not a lot of bezel left. So it's mostly screen in this nice, tightly packaged phone, and then they curve the back to make it really feel good in your hand. I mean, the one thing about the Nexus 6P is it's like more like a big rectangle, and they have the bezel a good sized bezel at the top and the bottom. Because they put the speakers on the front, which, hey, the speakers are good. You get good sound out of them, but I don't know if the sound quality from the speakers is worth the size to me. I know other people love the size and they like the phone. I'm still just having a hard time because I had a OnePlus One before this phone, and it was 5.5 inches, but it didn't feel as big as this phone does, even though they're very close. But the way it's designed, it's squared off and it doesn't feel as good. And you know what the problem might be is I put a case on it, and when I have the case off, it feels a lot better in the hand. But I'm a case person, and I really don't like having a phone without a case on it. So I gotta decide if I'm willing to try a skin or a cover to maybe minimize the size of the phone. I'm not sure how that would work. Maybe in the future we can talk about that.
Yeah, see, I mean, I really feel your pain. I've been, following you with your process of your phones, and basically you're in a dilemma where you I think one of the problems you had with the S7 was the bloatware that AT&T put on their phone. Yeah. And
tons of bloat.
Yes, a lot of bloat, bunch of apps, and I think that was one of the things that bothered you, along with the price. With this phone, you don't have any bloatware. You have pure Android, and it really runs fast, but now you've got a size problem. There's really almost no perfect solution. It's just a question of which compromise are you willing to make. So where you sound like, you had that taste of that S7 with the small size, 5.1 inches. It looks like, if you would have transitioned directly from your OnePlus to this phone, it would have been almost the same size. But I think you had that taste of that smaller size phone, and it's kind of hard after experiencing that to deal with the oversized phone of this 5.7 inch 6P. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, even with a case on the Galaxy S7, it just felt good in the hand, and it felt good in my pocket. I can use it with one hand with no problem, where this Nexus 6P is it's a big phone. I mean, and to use it one-handed is a struggle, especially if you're trying, well, you shouldn't be messing with your phone while you're driving, but when you stop at a red light or something, you're trying to do something one-handed.
Really? Red light, huh?
It's hard to do. And if you have to check something, even if you're at home trying to cook, or you're trying to do something with one hand and you have only one hand free to check your message, it's kind of hard. And then another thing about the design, they put the fingerprint scanner on the back, which
yeah. I have my 5X, which is basically a baby version of that phone. Now that might be an option for you because it is smaller. It does have a 1 gig less of RAM. But, I found people talking about that phone being underpowered, and I'm really picky I like speed. I'm like obsessed with speed with phones. And this 5X is fast. I was so shocked. I mean, now I will also say that I'm a person that closes out all my apps immediately, so I don't have a bunch of things running. I won't have old games that I played or, large RAM hogging apps sitting in the background. So, but for me, I love the 5X. I hope that they will make a new Nexus that is the normal or 5-inch size range and has the full-fledged processor, but I pretty like it. I like it a lot. So it might be an option for you to consider, but I know you really want something with a little more oomph.
Well, I mean, the Nexus 5X is a nice phone. I do kind of worry because the phone I want to get a phone that I can probably have for another 1.5 to 2 years. And my worry about the Nexus 5X is the processor's older. It only has 2 gigs of RAM. Yes, it has vanilla Android on it, so it's probably going to run fast and quick. But I just worry how long is it going to really last me. And if I invest $200 or $250 into this phone right now, and then in a couple of months or a year, I see a really nice phone that I really want, and I'm sitting there like, okay, I already invested $200, $300 in this phone. Is it really smart for me to go out and get another phone at that point? Where if I take that money and invest into a phone with a little more quality, not to say that the Nexus 5X is a bad phone, just I want something I think can last longer. And the 6P, to me, I thought could last longer. If I could just get over the size, it might be a great phone for me. And the Galaxy S7 is also a great phone. So I'm still sitting here trying to say, is the $300 more worth it for me to get the S7? Yes, it doesn't have vanilla Android. It has TouchWiz on it, which has gotten a lot better lately. I mean, it's not. I had the S3, S2 to S3, and back then TouchWiz was a mess, and it really hogged and made the phone stutter and do a whole lot of things. Now I know they have a very strong processor and they have 4 gigs RAM to minimize any lag, but I think they're also tuning the system better and they're minimizing all the extra stuff they have on, even though they still have all the features that they've had before, but it's all turned off to begin with, so you can pick and choose what features you have on your Galaxy S7, which that's one thing that they do have over vanilla Android. They do put a lot of features that are nice in their Samsung phones, so it's kind of hard. You got to weigh, do you want the upgrades of the OS right away, or do you want those extra features that might help you out with your phone right now?
Yeah, that's the dilemma. I mean, I said if, I'm recently coming back from an iPhone 6, and I still have it. I haven't sold it. 6 Plus, I'm sorry. Yes, the behemoth. 5.5 inch behemoth. And I'm trying this 5X to see if I want to stick with Android long term. I haven't sold my 6 Plus. Still debating, and I mean, it's like a compromise with every phone. And I mean, if I can find an Android phone that's 5 to 5.2 inches that has a flagship processor, in this case a Snapdragon 820 that's out for for all the Android phones, that would be my dream, and I will pick it up. But who knows? Come on, Google, make it happen. What do you think, Sam?
Yeah, I mean, if Google would just come out with a 5.1 or 5.2 inch phone that doesn't compromise on the processor or the screen or the RAM, so you can enjoy your full vanilla Android with all the power it needs, even though vanilla doesn't need as much power as other manufacturers' phones. But it would be nice to have, because then the phone's future proof. So when you do get those new upgrades and they add the new features like multi-window and different things that might be coming in Android N, your phone can handle all those features and multitask even better.
And we do know that when you do upgrade your phone, the phone will slow down. I mean, I remember when I had a Galaxy S3, Samsung Galaxy S3, and by the time it was, pretty much close to I was getting pretty close to getting rid of it, and they had, I think KitKat was the last one that they had on it. And I mean, it was slow. It was really bad. And in fact, I saw a video where this guy took an iPhone 5, and it originally came with iOS 6. And iOS is pretty light. And it currently had iOS 9. No, I'm sorry. iOS 9, which is the latest version. And he showed that the phone, he had one that he had found with the original operating system, iOS 5, and iOS 6 rather, and it was so much faster than the iPhone 5 with iOS 9. I mean, it just had slowed down, and that's what happens to all these phones because the newer operating systems have new features like you talked about, and it just becomes a heavier taxing process on the phone. So, you definitely want to get the most powerful processor that you can if you intend to keep the phone more than a year, or in our case, probably 2 if we're lucky, since we kind of love phones.
And I mean, also what you got to think about is, it's not just you get a better processor, you're also getting better power management with new processors. So when you have a phone that has a good battery size in it, your battery's going to last you longer. For instance, the 6P right now has a 3450 milliamp battery, and that's pretty big. And right now, I think they still need to do a little tuning, at least so far for me, in 2 days. I haven't seen the best battery life, but I've heard from most reviews that it has great battery life.
Yeah.
So hopefully the battery will settle. And that's one thing that also worries me about the 5X is the battery. It's only a 2650 milliamp battery in the 5X.
I thought it's 2700 or something around. It's around 2700, give or take. And yeah, you're right. The battery on it, it's not very great. I mean, I don't really need a great battery, so it hasn't really hurt me that much. But I can see for someone, like yourself, you get many more phone calls and more texts than I do. So, you're more of a heavy duty user. It would be a problem for you, especially coming from your 1 Plus, which gave you pretty good battery life. So it is a compromise you will get when you get those smaller phones. The big phones have the great battery. That's another feature. And the big, beautiful screen when you're watching movies. But it's also a big, beautiful brick to hold in your hand when you're trying to use it.
Yeah, the 5, I work at a job right now where I could plug my phone up if I need to. Mm-hmm. But I always wondered on those days I'm off or I'm out and I'm doing errands or taking a trip somewhere. I don't want to have to worry about having to run to a plug and charge my phone up. Even though the 5X and the 6P and the S7 all has fast charging, which is great. But fast charging is a feature that's nice, but you don't want to have a phone that's going to suck your battery life and you're looking for a plug all the time. I mean, the S7 compared to the 6P so far, I had the S7 for about 5 or 6 days, and the battery life just seems better. It only had a 3000 milliamp battery in it, but it seemed like for somehow Samsung's able to get their battery management better than pure Android. I'm not sure why. That makes a lot of sense to me, but it seems like the battery management is better on that phone than it was on the 6P so far.
Yeah, I remember that one in my S3 days, my Galaxy S3 days. I used to root it, and I used to put, AOSP ROMs on it. And I remember getting my best battery life with the modified TouchWiz ROMs. And so, it's amazing. They have such duplication of features and programming code. It's such a big bloated ROM. Or the ROM is the software that's on the phone. From having TouchWiz on it, but somehow, despite the bloat, the battery life seems to be better. So I don't know. I think with these phones, there's no perfect phone. We just gotta try to be satisfied with the best phone that suits us and our lifestyle and how we use it.
Yeah, and I agree. If you're out there looking for a new phone, take your time. I mean, go check every phone out and see which one best fits you. I mean, if you need a big phone, a small phone, they have all different phones for everybody. Just take your time to see what you need. I mean, right now I'm purchasing phones and I'm testing them out. And I made sure I brought them for a carrier or actually a store that allows returns. So in case I don't like the phone, I can return it. But if you're going to do that, make sure you're very careful with the phone, because if you're putting scratches, dents on, they will not give you your money back and you'll be stuck with the phone. So make sure you're careful when you do purchase a phone if you plan on maybe returning it.
Well, it's a tough decision. There's nothing perfect out there. So we'll keep an eye on this and revisit this topic in the future and finally find out what phone Sam ends up with. So thanks for listening, everybody, and we'll catch you next time.